What is up, Packers Nation? Welcome in to Pack-A-Day Happy Hour. I'm your host, Andy Herman. You can follow me on Twitter at Andy Herman NFL. You know that already anyway. Thank you so much for being here. Make sure to like the video today. If you haven't subscribed yet to the channel, make sure to do so as well. I am super jacked up about today's happy hour. I don't even know why. I don't even have a good reason for it. I'm just excited. I'm excited for answering all the questions that you guys have today. Always appreciate you guys being here. I'm excited for Packers Cardinals. I'm excited that the Packers are 3-1-1, sitting at third place in the entire NFL with a 3-1-1 record. It's been a wild season so far, and I am ready for it to continue. I think the Packers still have their best football ahead of them as well, which also excites me. And I'm trying not to think of the Milwaukee Brewers either. So I'm just trying to keep all positive thoughts when it comes to the Green Bay Packers right now. We are presented today by the one, the only, Luiges Pizza. Here it is, the ultra thin crust cheese. Here's the thing, right? It's pretty simple. Original home style pizza, ultra thin crust. It's just a cheese pizza, right? Just a cheese pizza. You guys are insane. This thing, I'm excited to be here talking to you guys right now. There is absolutely a piece of me that just wants to turn this off and go make this pizza right now because it is insane. I am now drooling and excited about this. But the best thing is Luiges Pizza now has on their website a location finder. So you can find the Luiges Pizzas nearest to you. Go to luigespizza.com. Check them out over on social media at Luiges Pizza as well. Make sure to give them a follow. Cannot thank them enough for all of their support of our podcast. They support us, so make sure you go supporting them as well and get yourself as many frozen pizzas as can possibly fit in your freezer. You will not be disappointed. So yeah, we're going to get to as many questions as we can throughout the course of today. We are starting with John, who came in at 9:55 this morning and got his first question in. It says, happy Friday, everyone. You're Jeff Hafley. How do you change your game plan for Jacoby Brissett versus Kyler Murray? How do you install and implement both during the week, or do you pick? If I had to guess, John, I would say that early in the week, and maybe even like doing some advanced scout, they were preparing for probably both quarterbacks. My guess is probably around Wednesday, they started transitioning to Jacoby Brissett a little bit more and started focusing on him. Now, there's no guarantee. All signs are indicating that it will be Jacoby Brissett. Kyler Murray was practicing with practice squad players. Jacoby Brissett was throwing to the starters. That's usually a pretty good indicator. But, you know, teams are smart. They know what's going to get reported, and that gets reported, and they're in the back singing, like, as soon as practice is close to the media, Kyler Murray goes and takes reps with the one. So you can never be 100% for sure. The injury timeline always kind of made sense for Kyler to sit out this week as well. On top of that, they have a bye coming up the following week. So that could be something that is in the back of their minds as well. However, what I will also say is this is a team that's 2-4, has lost 4 in a row, and a coaching staff where if they were to get obliterated by Green Bay, losing 5 in a row, the coach already pushed a player and got fined and, you know, lost a brutal game to Tennessee a couple weeks ago. Do you see following the bye week? Maybe, probably, but you never quite know for sure either. So if there's any chance Kyler could play, I think the Cardinals might have to at least consider that. But it does seem like Jacoby Brissett's going to be the QB. As far as like then later in the week, I just think, you know, you have to kind of have a couple different game plans. You probably hedge one way, you know, kind of expecting Brissett. They have game plans in place to go against mobile quarterbacks, right? That's nothing new. They faced a lot of them last year, so they can implement that if they really need to at any point in time. But they'll be ready. They'll be prepared. They'll make adjustments as needed. But my guess is they're probably preparing for Jacoby Brissett at this point. Happy Friday, Andy and John. I'm really loving the season thus far. All of the parody has my 3 bold takes looking good. I like the parody, most hated Chicagoan. I don't mean to be a hater here, but I'm not loving any of your 3 bold choices here. I don't like the 49ers winning 11 games and or the division. I think their Fred Warner and Nick Bosa injuries are going to catch up with them. I know they're in an okay place right now. That one's probably looking okay. I still kind of like the Rams, assuming they can get Puka back and Stafford doesn't get hurt and things like that. Also, Seattle's playing well. That one's possible, but I'm still not completely sold on it. The Lions and Chiefs missing the playoffs, though. In the AFC, there's just 0.0% chance, barring a Patrick Mahomes injury, that they're missing the play. I know they're 3-3. I get it. I know it hasn't been perfect. They're getting Rashee Rice back. That not only are they going to make the playoffs, they're right there as maybe the number one contender in the AFC right now. So they're making the playoffs again, barring a Patrick Mahomes injury, probably a significant one that keeps him out a good chunk of time. And the Lions are definitely making the playoffs too. I'd be pretty stunned if they didn't make the playoffs. So I don't love the three right now. The best one of those, though, is maybe the 49ers winning 11 games in the division. That seems like it has a chance, but I would be very concerned about Nick Bosa and Fred Warner missing from that defense moving forward. Also, with a Packers win and Lions loss plus Chargers win over the Colts, my two teams will be the number one seed with 2 bad games on their resumes. Also, Rattler is very good, Andy, similar to May last season. I'm a big Spencer Rattler guy. I liked him coming out. I think I actually was calling for Green Bay to draft him on day 3, if I remember correctly. I'd have to go back and look at the tweets to verify that, but let me see if I can find a Andy Herman Rattler tweet here. I think I had it, but I'll see if I can find it. Maybe I can't find it. That's okay. I'm pretty sure I had something like that though. Give me one second. Now I want to see if I can prove this. No, I don't know if I can. I'm going to look for it later though. Here we go. I think I found it. Oh, yes. All right. Got it. April 27th, 2024. I would legitimately love Spencer Rattler in round 4 for Green Bay. And then I put mutes notifications. So yeah, I was calling for him on day 3 of that 2024 draft. I do really like the way that he's playing so far, not to necessarily go in a random Spencer Rattler direction there. The Chicago media has been preparing these crazy Bears fans for that. They just look at the record and think he's bad, but it's not his fault. Have a great weekend, everyone, and go Pack Go. Yeah, he's playing good football. I do think there might be a comeback to earth game for Rattler coming up here soon. Hopefully it's not against Chicago. Hopefully he goes out and balls out against Chicago, but I do expect one of those to happen one of these games. Just wanted to say absolutely love and look forward to your episodes with Mike and Paul Farrington show. I gained so much knowledge and insight during those. Thanks for giving us a variety of perspectives. Ethan, I appreciate that a ton. It is 1,000,000% something that I set out to do. Even when I just started the audio podcast, I didn't want it just to be me every single day. Now I know you're getting me every single day now, but I wanted to give options, right? Even if you are a fan, sometimes it's better to get different perspectives and not just one person's. And I love all the different teams that we have on the audio side. And it's also why I love getting different perspectives on the video side as well, whether it is from a Rivals perspective with the Paul Farrington show or Karma Vitale nationwide, Mike Wall from former Packer perspective, and, just extreme NFL knowledge, right? Whether it's Justice Mosqueda or Aaron Nagler, just a variety of different viewpoints, or whether it's Perry and Grant. Like, I just want to be able to provide different perspectives for you guys. Tomorrow we got Warren Sharp coming back on. Super excited about that. Talked to him earlier today. Really fun episode lined up for tomorrow. So make sure you're checking that out. But it's just, there's always going to be a difference of opinions of this stuff, right? That's the fun part of it. There's different viewpoints, different conversations to be had, and certainly want to provide that for you. I just want to shout out or say something really quick about the Paul Farrington show here too. I know that maybe talking a little bit more Vikings football and maybe the NFC North perspective and things like that isn't necessarily everyone's cup of tea always. If you're not checking out that episode, I highly recommend it. Highly, highly recommend it, because Paul and Ziggy are awesome. They're super fun to talk to, and it's just super conversational and fun every single week. And if you look at the comments of that video every week, every single person's like, this is awesome. This is so much fun. Thank you so much for doing this. Love the collaboration, etc. So if maybe just in general, the idea of that show isn't your cup of tea, but you haven't given it a shot yet, highly, highly recommend checking it out, because we talk a ton of Packers. We will talk some Vikings and some NFC North as well. But you know what they say, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Those guys are awesome to talk to. I really, really enjoy it, and hope you guys will as well. Don't feel too worried about Green Bay like a lot of fans do. Defense is still a damn good unit. Offense is top 5. Jordan is top 5 in almost any metric. They will correct the wrong, and, well, special teams is special teams. Yeah, I think that's pretty well said, Ethan. I just think, now it gets into the point where you want to see consistent signs of progress, right? And trust me, there's going to be hiccups, there's going to be bumps in the road, there's going to be issues as time goes on. You're going to have, things that pop up through the course of the year, whether it's injuries or, maybe they fix special teams and then, maybe some other aspect of the team, goes awry and then they have to spend some time on that. Always better to experience that stuff in the regular season so you know where your weaknesses are and hopefully you can correct them. But it is going to be paramount to Matt LaFleur, Jeff Hafley, Rich Bisaccia, Adam Stenavich, that coaching staff, that they are making those corrections and getting this team where it needs to be. Offensive line is still something I still think needs to be improved quite a bit. I think the corners can play better than they have the last couple of weeks. I think the special team still needs to play better in, totality and overall. And they certainly need to start generating turnovers. There's no question about that either. So those are the 4 things where I need to start seeing some consistent improvement. I don't need it to be perfect yet, but I want to certainly see signs of that over the course of the next month, 2 months, and as we start getting ready down the road for playoff football. What did you think of Micah Parsons' interview this week? I'll be honest. I saw a lot of the comments. I listened to a couple snippets of it. I don't think I saw the full thing. But nothing he said was, I thought, out there or out of bounds or anything. I thought his comments were pretty legit, spot on, and didn't see anything that I disagreed with in any real way. The one was like, if he's saying like, oh, they call defensive offsides is a pretty easy one to call. They're not getting that one wrong. You're either offsides or you're not. I haven't seen a defensive offsides call that was the wrong call to be made. But outside of that, I thought his comments on penalties and where things are specifically targeted and some are not, I didn't disagree with any of his sentiment there. Former Packers writer Vic Ketchman used to say that the strength of your special teams is usually an indicator of the talent level of the bottom half of the roster. Is there any truth to that? Yes and no. I think they're, obviously the better players that you have, the more depth. You then have players that are at the bottom of the roster that are really talented, that are playing on teams, and that's usually a good sign. A super talented player on offense or defense does not always necessitate them being a unbelievable special teams player. It just doesn't. Some players just don't have that mentality or they don't have the skill set. And some players who are unbelievable on special teams, like one of the best of all times in Steve Tasker, didn't really have a role on offense, right? So yeah, you can be an unbelievable special teams player and have an unbelievable special teams without having stars play that. You can also be a star and not necessarily be good at teams. I think there's a little bit of something to it, but I think there's ways around it too. I think you could have great depth, like unbelievable depth, and still have a bad special teams. I think you could have bad depth and have a great special teams. I've seen some really bad Bears teams. I've seen some, the Bears is probably the top one, but some really bad Bears teams have some really great special teams units. So I don't think it's a perfect indicator, but it can definitely help. I'll say that much if you've got the right players at the bottom of your roster that are super talented, and that just gives you a little bit more spice and energy on that special teams unit. I know a defense has to pick what it's going to stop. Should we start trying to stop the quick game and force teams to throw deep instead to give our pass rush time to get home and allow X to make plays? Highly recommend listening to Jeff Hafley's press conference this week if you have not done it already. It's out there on YouTube. You can find it on Twitter. Packers.com, I'm sure, probably has it as well. Basically, one of the things that Jeff Hafley said is, we will not get beat in a game off of short completions. We will get beat if we give up big completions. I agree. I know that everyone loves style points and ass whippings and beat downs and everything else, right? I do too. I really do. But at some point, there is a just common sense of like, hey, we're up by 10. This offense isn't super dynamic. We can't allow any big plays. If they're going to nickel and dime us for a 17-play drive, so be it. We'll make them do that, and that's not going to beat us. The thinking here, the idea of this, of course, is that if you have to do that every single time, meaning you're not going to give up any explosive plays down the field, this run defense is the best in the NFL, and you don't give up any deep plays, it takes you stringing together, again, with 10, 12, 14, 16, 17 plays to go down and score. Even if you do that in like the Bengals case this last week, they did it 3 times. They scored 18 points total. 2 of those plays had to be were on fourth down conversions, and you had to convert a 2-point conversion to get to 18 as well. So it took a pretty big effort for the Bengals just to get to 18 in that game by trying to put together long drives all throughout the game. They couldn't do it in the first half. They had better success in the second half, and it still took 2 big fourth down conversions, some ridiculous plays by Jamar Chase, and some really good execution, and not having some catastrophic penalties, turnovers, etc., to get that done. And even when doing that, they allowed 18 points. And if Jeff Hafley were to tell Matt LaFleur every single week, hey, I got 18 points. I'm going to allow 18 points in this game. Are you cool with that? He would sign on the dotted line every single time. Every single time. And they've allowed 18 to to Washington, 18 to Cincinnati, less than 18 to Cleveland, less than 18 to Detroit. Obviously, the Cowboys one is the outlier, and that can't happen. But if you allow 18 points, you're in a great spot. Now, there's nuance to this, as always. You can't just easily allow some of those completions. You still want to be contesting some of those, and you do need to pick your spots. You can't just tip your hand and say, hey, we're going to allow this every single time. Because if you're giving them easy completions, they're going to take it. So you do need to change things up. You do need to, kind of make and pick and choose times where you're going to be a bit more aggressive. And to be fair, I think what people don't recognize about this Packers-Bengals game is there are multiple times where the corners are up pressing the receivers. They are bringing heavy pressure on Joe Flacco, and Joe Flacco is getting pressured heavily on the play. And he's just throwing it up to Jamar Chase, and Jamar Chase is going and making a play. And a couple of times to T. Higgins as well. I mean, there's the one play, I think Carrington Valentine's first snap in the game, where Green Bay gets pressure in like a second, like literally a second. It's there. Flacco just takes one step back, fades away, and just throws it up. And, Valentine's covering for like 1 second on the play. And all of a sudden, like T. Higgins locates the ball, goes up and gets it, and it's a first down. Like 90% of the time, that's probably a sack or an incompletion. And they have Chase and Higgins, and they go up and make the play. So it's complicated is the answer. There's no perfect answer. If there were a perfect answer, every single team would be doing the same thing. But in general, a great rule of thumb, stop the run, get pressure, don't allow any throws down the field, and make them kind of dink and dunk their way down the field, especially when you've got ultra fast attacking linebackers in Quay Walker and Edgerrin Cooper. And it's going to be very difficult for that team to put up consistent point production in that game. And I think that's going to bear out more often than not. And in 4 out of 5 games so far, it has. Now, the one aspect that they have to find a way to do is get turnovers, though. That's non-negotiable. You have to find a way throughout the course of the game to get turnovers, because if not, it just makes everything really difficult all throughout the game. So keep doing what you're doing for the most part, but you got to find a way to get some turnovers on the board. Otherwise, it's just a grind all day, every day on defense, and you're not setting yourself up on offense either. With Trey McBride, I want to see more Hobbs in the slot, at least on 3rd and long, but I kind of don't think we're going to. We saw it a little bit last week, but I think it was, kind of predicated on Javon Bullard being out of the game. I'll just say this. I love the way that Javon Bullard's playing. I don't want to see him necessarily in one-on-one man-to-man situations, especially on obvious passing situations. There was one this past week. He didn't have terrible coverage on it, but I think it was Higgins who still beat him on the play for a first down. He did have a couple good coverage plays on a couple other man-to-man plays, so it was a little bit better, but I still don't want him necessarily there. But I do really love the way that Javon Bullard's playing. And as far as Trey McBride goes, I think you're going to have to throw the kitchen sink at that guy. You're going to have to throw safeties, linebackers, man zone, press, non-press. You're going to have to throw, bracket coverage. He's the guy that you can't let beat you, and you're going to have to show a variety of different looks in order to make sure you're stopping him in any capacity. All right, we'll come back to John Kramer here in just a moment. I want to get to these super chats. Most State of Minnesota, thank you for being a member for 18 months. The Chargers were going to take Jordan Love, but the Dolphins took 2 instead. I was looking forward to him in San Diego, but he ended up in a better spot. He very much did. Thanks for making my drive to and from work enjoyable. Box Boy, you are more than welcome. Thank you for making us a part of your drive to and from work. Artie, thank you for the super chat. Andy, we haven't seen this yet this season, but do you think this year's team is better suited to play from behind than last year's team was? I do, But to your point, we haven't seen it. We need to kind of see the proof. I hope they don't have to do it a ton, but in the playoffs are going to be behind at some point, and we're going to have to see what this team is made of. I do think they have all the options in the world. And quite frankly, when we've seen it against, I shouldn't say, we had to see Dallas, right? They had to come from behind in those games and play and kind of, keep pace with the Cowboys in those second half. So we did see it a little bit there. And where I was going to go with that is when Green Bay has kind of had to throw their way back in the game or, kind of put the game away at the end, like they've been really good at it. And I think that's why some people are arguing of like, hey, does this team need to throw more and run less? Not sure I'm quite there, but when it's got to that point, when they've needed to, they've been really good at it. So add in Christian Watson and Jaden Reed to that mix. And yeah, I definitely feel like they'd be in a more than workable spot. But again, you don't want to certainly make a habit out of it. That's for sure. Andy, I was the guy who commented at the thing saying, how is it 0.0% chance of it bounced off the receiver's hands? Got to admit, I was wrong there. You're all good, Adam. No need to apologize on that. And that's why I go back and rewatch the tape, because when I initially saw the comment, I'm like, oh, I'm going to have to go back and watch that. And maybe it did hit his hands and I didn't recognize it. I was not calling you out directly in any way, shape, or form. But again, that's why I kind of like going back and reviewing the tape in great detail, because I can catch all those little things, right? And I know, again, I talked about it the other day, some people are for grades, against grades. I don't care. If it's your cup of tea, awesome. If it's not, don't worry about it. But the big thing for me is it's not about the grade. It's about me getting to go back and watch every single snap, every single player, and kind of just downloading that into my brain, which allows me to talk about a variety of different things all throughout the course of the year. So yeah, very, very much so. Yeah, no worries whatsoever, Adam. Nothing to be concerned about whatsoever. I'll admit I can be overly positive with J Love. Nothing wrong with that, my friend. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. There's definitely plenty of people who are overly negative with Jordan Love. So way to balance it out. I always try to work in the realm of realism as much as I can, but I think most of I certainly err on the side of positivity and, just optimism. But yeah, try to be as realistic as I can with it. All right, get back to John. Bucks versus Lions. Who are you rooting for and who's winning this? I do think Detroit wins. I think I'm probably cheering for Tampa in this one, even though Tampa's ahead in the standings. I think, don't quote me on this, I'm pretty sure I had Green Bay, Tampa Bay in my final prediction in the NFC Championship game. That was my final, and then I had the Ravens winning the Super Bowl over Green Bay. That doesn't look so great at the moment, but I'm pretty sure I had Tampa Bay, Green Bay. I've been kind of on the Tampa bandwagon of them being a good team. What they do from here on out will remain to be seen. They've certainly had to really scrap and claw their way to some last-second victories, and what Baker Mayfield's done has been pretty outstanding and astounding. So, yeah, I think I'll be cheering for Tampa in this one. I think Detroit does get the win in this one. Without looking up any stats, can you rank your top 5 NFL defenses right now? No. I'd have to go and watch, a little bit closer and look at some of the advanced analytics and things like that. So no, I still think I would put Green Bay in that list, if I'm being honest. I don't know where they're statistically at right now from a DVOA standpoint or a ANY over A standpoint or anything like that. But yeah, I'd have to look at it and kind of review the tape a lot further. You guys know better than anybody. When I'm in season, I'm pretty laser focused in on the Packers and their upcoming opponent. And then of course, who they just played against when I'm reviewing the tape as well. And I don't get to spend, unfortunately, a ton of time sort of surveying the league and seeing where everything is at. So I honestly haven't looked at it too close, John. Do you get annoyed with all the quick game and shotgun runs? Seems like the best plays happen when Love has the ball in his hands or Jacobs is running downhill. No, not necessarily. I do like running out of more base sets and non-shotgun. And I do like when Jordan is able to throw down the field. You also can't be predictable. You can't say, oh, they're in shotgun, it's a pass. And you can't necessarily say, oh, they're under center, it's going to be a run. You have to do a little bit of everything, right? You have to be able to change it up and make yourself multiple. This is a team that has all the ingredients to do anything they want, meaning they should be able to run out of shotgun or run under center, pass out of shotgun, pass under center, do quick concepts, do long developing concepts, do intermediate concepts. They have the pieces everywhere that they need to be successful with any of that. Now, it'll be better when you've got Christian Watson and Jaden Reed at receiver. It'll be better when you add in another element to the running game in Marshawn Lloyd. It would be better if the offensive line, was able to gel together and could protect a little bit longer and could be a little bit better in the run game. But they have all the ingredients, and I like being multiple. Well, let's use the jet sweeps and reverses as an example. I talked to somebody about this week. Maybe it was Justice, but those plays aren't necessarily the most aesthetically pleasing plays right now, right? You get it. Golden gets it. Savion Williams gets it, and it goes for like 4 or 5 yards. It's like, what was that? Was that worth the play? If you look at it, they're averaging, I think, around like 4 to 5 yards per carry on those runs. If you get a 4 to 5 yard carry every run on something, you're taking that every single time. You love those numbers with what they're doing. I know it's not maybe getting those explosives that we've seen in the past with Christian Watson, but they're doing a good job getting positive yardage on those end arounds and reverses. They're positive plays. And here's the bigger thing. Even if they were going for like 3.5, maybe you do it a little bit less. I cannot stress to you enough. We talk about all the time about Christian Watson and his ability to pull coverage down the field so that backs those safeties up and it makes the field stretch longer and more yardage, more yards to cover, more blades of grass to cover, and it frees stuff up over the middle, right? We talk about that all the time with players like Christian Watson and Matthew Golden. The same thing goes horizontally. You have to be cognizant of Matthew Golden or Savion Williams getting the ball, or maybe eventually Christian Watson again too, on these end around plays or these quick little throws to the outside, that your defense has to be spread horizontally as well. And you have to be ready to cut those things off. And if teams have any concern about that, or they get a little bit more spread wide, guess what? That makes it easier. You're talking about, you want to see Jacobs running downhill. That makes it easier for him to run downhill because those linebackers and defensive ends are just a little bit more spread out. It's a little bit less compact in the middle of the field. Now, when you fake a jet sweep to Matthew Golden and you see the defense go with it, and now you hand to Josh Jacobs, you get some inherent advantages there. So I think, and I talked about this with Aaron Nagler actually in the members video. Just know, not every play call is designed to be the best play call for that moment. That might sound crazy, right? But just because they're calling that play doesn't mean that Matt LaFleur thinks that play call is going to be the best play call for that specific scenario. Might be a 1st and 10. You might give a jet sweep on something. You might be like, what was that? I hated that jet sweep call. We just learned Christian Watson, LVN, and Devontae Wyatt are out against the Cardinals. So no Watson this week. Josh Jacobs and Nate Hobbs have popped up with new injuries. Give me 1 second here. So Josh Jacobs with a calf. Kyler Murray's officially questionable. Let's see here. All right, so for the Packers, final injury report here. Anthony Belton, questionable. Nate Hobbs, questionable. Josh Jacobs, questionable with a calf. He was a full participant today, though Nate Hobbs was a limited participant with a knee injury. He is questionable. McManus did not participate. He is questionable. Monk is questionable with his hamstring. He was limited today. Zach Tom is questionable. Dontavian Wicks is questionable. And then again, Watson and Van Ness and Wyatt are all out for this game. For Arizona, DeMercado, the running back, is out. Walter Nolan is out. And then they've got, let's see, Keaton Crawford is questionable. Will Hernandez and Zay Jones are questionable. Kyler Murray and Darius Robinson are questionable, which also means then that Marvin Harrison Jr. is good to go. He was a full participant and is good to go. So there's your injury report. Just to go back for a second to that play, just because they're running something doesn't necessarily mean that that's their go-to for that scenario. Like, that's their best play call. A lot of times it's set up to get something later, to set something up later, or again, just to kind of spread the defense out, whether it's horizontally or vertically, and keep a defense honest. Matt LaFleur is very good at sequencing stuff. You may not like a play call in the moment, be like, I don't like the jet sweep there, or the quick toss there, things like that. Just know a lot of times that's also to set stuff up later. So just remember that as well. Go back in time to the offseason. Your Questy, who are you taking with what you know at the time? Darnold, Jones, Rodgers, or just Wentz to go along with McCarthy, taking contract into account? No question at all. I'm taking Sam Darnold still. He was good last year. in Minnesota. He's looked better this year. And the crazy thing about the Darnold contract is it was not bad at all. Like the contract this year, it ends up really being a 1 year. If they wanted it to, it would have been a 1 year, $39 million deal. And that would have been it. So like, even if they weren't 100% sure of like, hey, I don't know if Darnold's our guy long term, it amounted to a 1 year, $39 million deal, which is not bad at all for a 1 year quarterback. And by the way, that was split up. So it would have only been 13.4 million this year. And then you would have had 25.6 mil in dead cap next year, which they would have been able to maneuver if they wanted to. But yeah, even if they weren't 100% sure, like 1 year, 39 for Darnold, that's split between 2 years, is not bad at all for a starting caliber quarterback who played really well for you a season ago. And even if you wanted to go to McCarthy eventually, again, you just take the 1 year, 39 for Darnold, then go to McCarthy in 2026, and you're still set there. Not to mention, you also have, it also works as a 3-year deal where it's 13.4 mil this year, 33.9 next year, which is again not bad. And then 2027, it's 44.9, but you can save 25.7 of that at that time if you want to move on and don't want to give him that deal, or you work on an extension at that time. The Darnold deal was extremely reasonable and made all the sense in the world based on how he played. And now he's playing even better this year. So yeah, they messed it up. But quite frankly, Darnold would have been better. Jones would have been better. Rodgers probably would have been better. And they probably would have been better waiting 1 more year on the JJ McCarthy experience, who, by the way, is not playing again this week. He's going to be the emergency number 3 quarterback for Minnesota. I really like Sorrell and Brinson. I really think Sorrell and Brinson are going to be important for this team. They give good snaps. That's huge. They make a real impact. Look the heck out. I would expect more over time, year 2, year 3, to kind of see those jumps from them. But the great news is that both of them are solid rotational players right now, or at least they have been in their very minimal playing time already, which is a really great sign for both players. Go Pack Go. Hope the Brewers hit the ball tonight, but it's been one heck of a season for them. Go Pack Go. Bring home a win on Sunday. Yeah, no matter what happens, unbelievable year for Milwaukee, right? You have the best record in baseball, set the franchise record. You win your divisional series against your rival, the Chicago Cubs, and you run into the best team in baseball, who's in all likelihood going to win the World Series. And they were, the Dodgers have been beyond phenomenal so far. Doesn't make it any less frustrating that that Milwaukee is basically no-showed over the first 3 games. Not everyone. Miz was awesome last night. They got some good pitching early from Peralta. There's been some moments, right? But just not enough. And a very, very frustrating series when you have a chance to go to the World Series. But hey, you've got a fool's hope and a puncher's chance. They've won 6 in a row against the Dodgers during the season. Just need to win 4 in a row now. Don't see that happening, but hey, 1 game at a time, I guess. Maybe with it being a foregone conclusion, they can play more free and light and just go out and just play baseball. And when Milwaukee just goes out and plays and maybe doesn't have the weight of the world on their shoulders, there's nobody really like them. They've been the best team all season. So hopefully they're a little bit better tonight and can maybe at least steal a game tonight in LA. Andy, you're the man. If you can remember, I would love to hear what your gut reaction and initial thoughts were when they drafted Love. I've went back to try and see if you made a video about it. I was on Cheesehead TV at the time. You can go and watch their draft party from that draft. And I was live at that time. But there's an article, if you can look at Packer Report, there's an article immediately after. And so Love was a late first, early second grade for me. Based on where they got him, I had no issue with taking him. And I know my evaluation of Jordan Love was, these are not usually the quarterbacks that I like to take late in the first, where there's some accuracy and some interception issues and they're not coming off their best year. Those are not ones that I normally gravitate to. And when I watched the tape going into that draft, I just couldn't quit the dude. I'm like, there is so much here to love. I really kind of like him. And it wasn't calling for them to draft Jordan Love at that time, but definitely understood it, didn't hate it. My initial article right after it, if you want to go over to Packer Report, this is all based on my memory. I'm pretty sure you can collaborate this, or verify this. My initial article was, I hated the timeline. I liked the player. I hated the timeline. And what I meant by that was, for every year that Jordan was on the team with Aaron, while Aaron was still there in 2020, 2021, you were basically utilizing a really important resource and not optimizing Aaron's timeline. And for every year that Aaron was still on the team, and even more so when they gave him the extended contract, you were missing out on the best opportunity for Jordan, where he could have been good maybe right away. And you now missed out on those really cheap years of his contract. And that's usually the biggest cheat code in football when you've got a great quarterback on a cheap deal. Well, you would never even have the opportunity to have that, because even if you had him on a cheap deal and he was great, you would have still had to pay all of Aaron's stuff, right? So the timeline I didn't love. Now, what turned out being great is right around the time Aaron was really kind of ready to be done in Green Bay, and I think everyone was ready to go in a different direction. It was Jordan was ready, and Jordan was definitely not ready to come in right away and be an NFL quarterback. I cannot stress to anybody enough, if they would have seen initial Jordan Love in those like mini camps and training camp practices, he was definitely not ready those first 2 years, like not even close. And we saw that in KC, right? Just not even remotely ready. So it ended up working out, but that was my initial concern. And then you can also go and see, I did 2 big, huge, massive deep dives, film reviews into his sophomore year and his junior year, and broke down everything. And there was so much to love in all of that. His sophomore tape was just glorious. His junior tape had a few more hiccups with it and things you kind of had to squint through and be like, there's some concerns there, but so much to love. So like the player, again, late first, early second grade, could never really quit him. Really liked the tape overall. Love the deep dive that I did, especially his sophomore tape. Really liked the player. Questioned the timeline, but obviously the timeline ended up working out pretty damn well for all parties involved, including Aaron Rodgers right now in Pittsburgh, who's playing some good football as well. All right, we did that. Couldn't believe when Andy started talking about getting it on with Rose Sparks in today's episode. That's just for you, Ben. Yes, one ad read for Rose Sparks. Actually, I have one I think coming up again in like 3 weeks. So not anything you're going to see regularly, but one today on the grades episode, and then there's probably one more coming up in about 3 weeks or so. So not anything crazy, just something to throw in there. A little, got to keep the spice and some surprise as to what that ad read's going to be every day. Could be Viore, could be pizza, could be Rose Sparks. You never quite know. Got to keep you guys on your toes. After the Cincy Pittsburgh game, I'm glad we got Cincy when we did. That was an electric game, though. That was an awesome game last night. Absolutely awesome game. I mean, 2 40-year-old quarterbacks, like just turning back the time machine and playing in like the prime of their career. And the Rodgers play to Freiermuth, the second touchdown. I mean, that was reminiscent of like Rodgers to Cobb. He buys time, rolls out, finds Cobb in the middle of the field. In this case, finds Freiermuth. It was a little more slow motion because, Freiermuth's not as fast as Cobb, but I mean, reminiscent of it big time. And then the Hail Mary at the end. I mean, how many flashbacks did that bring back? Just some really, really fun stuff in that game. That Aaron Rodgers is awesome for football. Whether you love him or hate him or anything in between, there is zero question that he's one of the best 32 quarterbacks in the league. He certainly is. So he makes the NFL better just because you're getting better quarterback play than if he was gone. There's also, again, the aspect, if you do love him, well, then it's fun to go out and watch him play. And if you hate him, well, then it's awesome to go out and cheer against him, right? Same thing with Brady, like late in his career. I mean, if you hated Tom Brady, it made it more likely to tune in of like cheering against Tom Brady. And I just think in general, he's good for the game, and he makes everything a little bit more interesting and exciting. So happy he's still playing. Would have no issue if he wanted to play again next year. It sounds like this is going to be his final year, but he's playing some really good football, and we saw that certainly evident last night in that game against Cincinnati. What a run for Joe Flacco in Cincinnati, too. I mean, if you're any quarterback and you all of a sudden get Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, though, you've got to be like, oh, all right, let's go. I'm ready. Yeah, I can just throw it up to those guys. And Flacco has certainly been ready for it these last couple of weeks. Do you think Green Bay is in the market for a trade for a corner or lineman? I saw Reek Woolen could be on the market. Just a thought. I don't see Reek being one of their guys. He could be, but I don't see it. I don't think they're going to go corner shopping unless somebody gets hurt. I think they invested in Hobbs. They like Valentine. Nixon's not going anywhere, and they love Bullard. So even if you traded for somebody, they're probably sitting on the bench to begin with. Now, if you traded for a 1A guy, I don't think Green Bay is going to go and do that because they've already invested in Micah Parsons. So I don't see it unless somebody gets hurt. Could be wrong, but I don't see that happening. Interior defensive lineman still, to me, getting one more guy to kind of bolster the depth there makes a ton of sense, but we'll see if they actually go in that direction or not. No Bates, legit question. Do you see policy giving the boot to LaFleur if the team underwhelms in the playoffs due to Matt's stubbornness and not feeding the ball more to his playmakers? Not for that reason, no. If they would have a end to the year this year, but take the injuries away, right? Where like Jordan clearly wasn't healthy, Watson gets hurt at the end and things like that. But if you had a year kind of like last year where you're playing your worst football at the end and you lose 2 regular season games and then you get blown out, not blown out, but you get beat pretty easy in the first round of the playoffs. I don't think they move on in that scenario. In fact, I'd bet pretty aggressively that they wouldn't. In that scenario, there might be a little conversation of like, hey, that wasn't good enough. And what went wrong here? There might be some internal huddles. In order for Matt to get fired, it would take something really catastrophic. If I were betting right now, if Matt either wins the Super Bowl or gets fired, I would be betting so aggressively towards winning the Super Bowl. The clear and obvious answer, like the likelihood of, are not, neither are super likely, right? It's not that they absolutely can win the Super Bowl. He could theoretically get fired, but the more likely scenario is that they bow out in the division round or conference championship, or maybe even lose the Super Bowl. And, Matt still did a great job leading up to that. And Matt's back next year and you try to win a Super Bowl next year. That's the most likely outcome of the season. But it would take something, I think, extremely catastrophic. And I think the biggest thing would be like the bigger indicator would be where he lost the locker room, where they like lost probably, 4 or 5 games at the end of the year to either miss the playoffs or stumble into the playoffs and then get their butt kicked in the first round of the playoffs. And the locker room was completely gone. That's probably the lone scenario where Matt is gone. And A, I don't see that happening. And B, I think there's far better outcomes to anything. And no, if they have like a great remainder of the season and they lose in the first round of the playoffs because they didn't get the ball to their playmakers enough, no, I don't think that's in the realm of likelihood where he would get fired for something like that. How can we convince Matt LaFleur to hire Mike Wall as an offensive line consultant, assistant offensive line coach, asking for a friend? I don't know. I would love that, though. I would absolutely love that. How are we feeling about the pass rush this week? Do you expect more success? I'm hopeful. I didn't love what I saw in the second half, if I'm being honest. I need more from Rashawn Gary. I'm going to put it that way. You're without Wyatt, so your interior defensive tackle rush is not going to be great, right? Brinson and Brooks, Wooden might provide a little bit, but you're kind of going to be focusing, counting on your edge rushers. And Mike has been awesome. He's going to get triple teamed, double teamed, and probably choke holded and held and cross-faced chicken winged and everything else. There's no LVN. And Igbari and Sorrell are only going to, provide so much. I need a big Rashawn Gary game this week. Have to have a big Rashawn Gary game this week. Don't be surprised if you see a little bit more blitzing from Edgerrin Cooper as well. Mike Spofford put it well in their unscripted show. Mike Spofford always puts it well, first of all. Just want to see, after allowing a touchdown drive, the defense step up and stop the snowball effect that has happened the last couple games. Absolutely. Needs to be a little bit better where one touchdown doesn't, evolve into a field goal, then a touchdown, et cetera. So I'm right there with Spoff per usual. He's awesome. Spoff's one of the best. All right. Going to get back to this in just a second here. All right. Got to remove this and do this. All right, let's get our sleeper picks in for Monday Night Football this week. Always appreciative of Sleeper for sponsoring our show. Reminder that you can get a 100% match up to $100 over on Sleeper by using code PACKADAY. Super simple. Monday Night Football, speaking of that Lions and Buccaneers game from earlier, I expect a lot of passing yards in this game. Detroit's secondary is completely beat up, although I do think Terry and Arnold did practice today. But Baker Mayfield, more than 240.5 passing yards. I do think he ends up throwing an interception. I think Detroit's going to get very aggressive, which is going to lead to a lot of passing yards, but is also going to lead to maybe a turnover or two. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown, 73.5 receiving yards. I think he will have more than that this week as well. I expect some fireworks in that game. So Baker Mayfield pick, more than 240.5 passing yards and more than 73.5 receiving yards for Amon-Ra St. Brown. Again, 100% match up to $100 by using code PACKADAY. Also, they have a free entry right now, $20 entry. So go check that out as well. Terms and conditions apply. And you can check those out over at Sleeper. Available in over 25 states. So if you are not sure, again, you can check out the full availability over on Sleeper as well. If you're not playing, you're missing out. It's a ton of fun. I enjoy doing it every single week. Thursday Night Football, Monday Night Football, full slate of games on Sunday, and certainly Packer games as well. Go over there and check it out as soon as you have a chance. All right. Let's get back to our questions here. I think we were right around, where did we go? Right here, I think. Andy, I want to ask you, want any improvement from Jordan Love's game? Because I love that Jordan can understand Matt's offense a lot better and call out the defensive scheme of the opposing team. And I think Jordan has not reached his full potential with his game. I want him to continue to improve always. I think he's done an incredible job. I love the way that he's playing. I think there's a couple times throughout the course of a game where he can take a little bit better care of the ball. I also like his aggressive mentality. I think it's a breath of fresh air. I think you have to be able to attack down the field. And the fact that their big play rate and their third down rate and their efficiency rates are all extremely high, I'm willing to take that if it means that every once in a while there's a ball that goes in harm's way. There is a cost of doing business with that. And by the way, it's the reverse as well. I know people don't want to hear this, and this is not a shot at Aaron, who I think is still by far and away one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, one of the greatest Green Bay Packers of all time, 4-time MVP. I'm not taking a dig at his overall body of work or anything like that. I do believe wholeheartedly that Aaron was too risk averse at times. I've said for a while, I wonder if there's a point in time where Aaron will look back at his career and just say, man, I wish one of those years I just would have went out and said, F it, I'm going off. I'm going to rip this ball. And you know what? I might end up with some picks, but I'm going to throw for like 60 touchdowns. I think that there were times where, especially when he wasn't utilizing the middle of the field, it got to be detrimental at times because he wasn't willing to give his receiver a chance or throw in the middle of the field or, make some of the plays that he had the ability to make, but he was just being extra cautious. Sometimes that's a good thing. Don't get me wrong, but you can be too cautious in the NFL. I love the way that Jordan's playing right now. I think it's a really good balance. I don't want to see him throw that pick in the last game. I don't want to see him throw late across his body in a situation where there's 0% chance of success. And the only thing that's going to happen is a bad thing. That's a bad decision. That's not being aggressive. That's being dumb. So I want to eliminate dumb. I don't want to eliminate aggressive. So there's a couple things I still think he can do better there, but I think he's playing fantastic football. I love the way that Jordan's playing right now. Problem is some of those quick passes Green Bay hasn't tackled well on, but last season they did well with that. The first 2 games they did superbly. I think the quick pass tackling will improve. Ben, I'm right there with you. The issue with that is if Cincinnati with an awful offensive line can do it and expose us, what happens when we go against the top tier offense? Again, I think Cincinnati's offense was predicated on getting the ball out of their hands really quick. So yeah, I do think that you have to force teams into some longer down and distances where it's 3rd and 10, 3rd and 12, 3rd and 15, and it's clear and obvious passing situations. And now you've got to hold the ball in the pocket a little bit longer. And now Micah, Rashawn, LVN, et cetera, actually have an opportunity to get there. There have been a lot of plays through 5 weeks so far where defensive linemen are winning and the ball is just out of the quarterback's hands with immediacy. So I do think there's a balance there. I don't think that the Bengals offensive line just shut down the Packers pass rush. I do think missing LVN for a portion of that game and missing Wyatt affected it as well. But I still think this pass rush is going to be really good. But you do have to get them into 3rd and long situations if you want to really take advantage of that. All right, this game is all on Halfley. If they scheme for Kyler and it's Jacoby or vice versa, if we can't adjust and lose the second half, that's going to be on him. I don't have much concern about that at the moment. I think they'll have a great plan in place. You got to be careful and cognizant of Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison Jr. Those are the big 2. Michael Wilson too. They do have some jump ball guys now. Don't get me wrong. If they want to kind of copy and paste what the Bengals did, and I'm sure they're going to try, you can throw it up to McBride, you can throw it up to Harrison, and you can throw it up to Michael Wilson as well. They got some big boys at wide receiver and tight end. So be prepared. There could be a situation where, especially if it's Brissett, he's getting the ball out of his hands and letting those receivers go to work. If he gets some one-on-ones against Valentine, Hobbs, or Nixon, they might try it. They might try a very similar approach. So Green Bay's going to have to be ready for it. I think whoever is at quarterback, Jeff will be ready for it. They'll have a good game plan. And again, kind of what Spoff was saying earlier, hopefully they can, get some turnovers, but also, don't allow one thing to kind of lead to the other. I was the same way with Rodgers too. All right, fair enough. Oh, with being positive about Love. Gotcha. Do you think Jordan Love could be in the MVP conversation by the end of the year? Yes. I don't expect him to win it. Josh Allen's playing pretty amazing football. I know they've lost their last couple, but he looks awesome. But yeah, I think if Jordan were to go on like a pretty impressive run where he started averaging like 280 and a couple touchdowns every week, minimal interceptions, he could absolutely get his name in the conversation. I mean, he's like third or fourth right now, and maybe that's a little high. He is. No, he's not that high. Never mind. He is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's seventh right now, but I mean, really basically tied for fifth. So it's Mahomes, Allen, Baker, who are all very, very high. Mahomes plus 200, Allen plus 300, Baker plus 350. Then you get Drake May at plus 1,000, which is pretty crazy. And then Jared Goff, Matthew Stafford at plus 1,600, and Jordan Love at plus 1,800. So yeah, get him a couple of good weeks in there, and you would see him jump, I think, pretty aggressively. I will expect, my expectation is Jordan will finish top 5 in MVP voting. Top 5. I don't think he's going to win it. I don't think he's going to take second. Probably won't even take third, but I bet he finishes top 5 in MVP voting, assuming he stays healthy. Yep, we did talk about that. Watson officially out. I've just seen Love respond and grow from his mistakes in the past. I'm on his side. That's my quarterback, Ben. I'm right there with you. Pearl is back with Jordan Morgan, certified right guard. Now, what do we do with Sean Ryan? Perform more than enough to not sit on the bench, but could be wrong. I still think he's going to get snaps, and I think Steno confirmed that this week that he's still going to play. And then I think they'll look at it, right? And if Ryan's playing better than Morgan, then Ryan will play. I don't mind the rotation right now. I think that's the right place to do it. And I just think you let that play out. And then injuries are going to play a factor too, right? You're going to end up with injuries through the course of the season, as we've seen already. And I'm sure Sean Ryan will play. If you listen to my grades episode, I'm not thrilled with the way Elton Jenkins is playing. Now, I don't think you bench him. I don't think you put Sean Ryan in at center for him. If I see some of the effort, if I'm Matt LaFleur and I see some of the effort lacking again from Elton Jenkins, I'm not sure I wouldn't send a message at some point and just, and if it's really poor enough, where it's been a couple times this year, just a thought. I don't think they would do it. I'd be pretty stunned if they did it, but I need to see a lot better Elton Jenkins than what we've seen so far through 5 games this year. Houston's defense is the top scoring at the moment, which I find really weird. It is not who I would have expected, but D'Amico Ryans is a really smart defensive coach. I'll go happily sit on a bench. Fair enough. Houston offense is bested by a potato. Yeah, their offense is not great at the moment. Happy Friday, Andy. Really hoping this defense can start to get some turnovers and get the good field positions for Jordan. Also really hoping we have an answer for this quick passing teams are using. Yeah, just remember to, quick passing is not going to beat you. Again, go listen to that Jeff Hafley press conference. It's not what's usually going to beat you. You're going to have to get explosive plays. If they're not allowing explosives, you're usually in a pretty good spot. So, those quick passing games tend to, get a lot more tight in the red zone, and then things kind of dry up. You have to kind of get that explosive, and Green Bay's really not allowing those. So I think they're still in a good spot. There's one game against Dallas that has looked really ugly. I think the rest of the games are more well within the realm of good defense, but I do think it needs to get a little bit better. I think Jeff probably needs to just switch a couple things up to try to limit that quick passing game just a little bit more. Andy, sorry I'm late. Please start over so I can get caught up. Thanks. All right, we're going to go back to the beginning. Initial question from John. Happy Friday. I'm just kidding. We will not do that, but you can go back and listen to it. I promise you are welcome to do that. Wish we would stop running the ball on second down so often. Need to be more aggressive. I think it can be a smidge less. I don't hate it. I understand it a little bit. Also, just remember, Green Bay is the best in the league on third downs right now. They're converting over 50% of the time. Listen to the conversation tomorrow with Warren Sharp, and I think you'll get a little bit better understanding of that. I don't think you want to do it as much as you're doing so far. I think it's a little bit too predictable. I don't think it's really efficient right now. You also have to be, this is where things are just really complicated, guys. And it's not as simple, right? Everybody wants Josh Jacobs to get 20 some touches a game, which means you have to give him the ball. If you're not going to give it to him on second downs in some of those second down situations, well, then you have to give it to him on first downs more often than not. If you're just constantly giving it to him on first downs when teams are stacking the box a little bit more, well, that's not advantageous either. And where teams are now maybe stacking the box a little bit more on first down, that's when you want to throw. Sometimes it gets incomplete. You're on second down. Now teams got their two high safeties. You're getting an advantageous run look, and you kind of want to take advantage of that. See if you can take a 2nd and 10 and turn it into like a 3rd and 5, 3rd and 4. The defense oftentimes is predicating what you want to do. If you get to 1st and 10 and they're stacking the box and taking away Josh Jacobs, you're going to throw more. And when you throw more in first, you're going to end up sometimes with incompletes and on second and long, and you still want to get Josh Jacobs the ball. And so if you give it to him there, you might be like, oh, I hate these second and long runs. Well, you threw on first because you didn't get a good run opportunity. And what if they ran on first? What if they ran and it was a 9-man box and you ran on first down and went for -1? Your comment's going to be, why were they running into a 9-man box? Just throw the football. All right, so now they threw the football. It's incomplete. Now it's second and long. Now you've got a too high safety. You get an advantageous look. You're running the ball. Why are they running on second and long? Such a stupid idea. Everything sounds good until you start actually putting it in play. And if you pass on first down because they're stacking the box and you don't get anything, now you throw on second down. Maybe whether you get something or not. Now it's third down. You throw on third down. All right, now you went 3 straight plays and Josh Jacobs hasn't touched the ball, which is not necessarily where you want to be either. It's not easy, sequencing this stuff, getting the different looks that you want to get in there, some stuff down the field, some stuff horizontally, setting up a play now so that it sets up a different play later, making sure Josh Jacobs gets 20 rushes plus per game, which is where you want him to be, making sure you're trying to get the ball to all these weapons. Is Matthew Golden getting enough targets? Is Romeo Doubs is Tucker Kraft getting enough targets? Why isn't so-and-so touching the ball more? Shit's not easy. It really isn't. And you have a defense that's trying everything they can to kill you across from you. Good luck. I know it all sounds good when you say it out loud. Yeah, stop running the ball in second and long. What are you doing, idiots? And you end up in a situation where you're a lot of third and longs. You have a lot of incompletions, and you're not running the ball at all with Josh Jacobs. And I'm not saying that's a little bit hyperbolic. Obviously, it's not as aggressive as that all the time. And I'm with you. I do think they need to do it less. But I also understand you have to kind of take sometimes what the defense is giving you. A lot of times in second and long, they're going to give you the run. You got to take advantage of it. You got to make it work. And when they're in that too high shell and you've got Josh Jacobs at running back, you better be able to run in those situations, both now and in the long term. Let's see. Do you think the Detroit Lions playing really, really hard every single snap leads to a few more injuries for them? I'm sure it does. I'm sure it kind of wears them out through the course of the season as well, which is maybe why they haven't had the playoff success. But I love the way that they're coached. I love the way that they play. But if they really want to be the Super Bowl champion and we want to see, teams playing the way that they do every game, well, they're going to have to win some championships and show like, hey, that's the way everyone should. And I think every coach wants their players to play hard like that every week. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, I think there is a culture there. But I think that culture, also, again, maybe is wearing down through the course of the year, or again, could lead to some injuries as well. But I think they're really well coached. I think they do things the right way. But yeah, I think sometimes we do place Detroit a little bit too much on a pedestal. They've had regular season success. They have not done anything in the playoffs under Dan Campbell yet. How do the Packers stop throws at the line of scrimmage so we can get pass rush? You come up and play it more aggressively. The last couple of weeks, that's harder when you've got Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, George Pickens the week before that. You've got some jump ball guys, some great receivers that can just go and win when you're one-on-one and they're pressed up. It makes it difficult. And you don't want to maybe let Jamar Chase get one-on-one too often. When they did, guess what? He went, even though Keyshawn Nixon had good coverage, he went up, made a play, caught a touchdown in that fourth quarter. So if you have a receiver matchup that's more advantageous for you, you're going to come up, press those guys, get the pass rush going, not allow those easy completions, let Xavier McKinney roam the back end. You can get away with that a lot more against teams like Dallas and or at least against good receivers like Pickens and Chase. Sometimes you don't want to do that for obvious reasons. Just depends on your opponent and who you're going against. Yeah, I think they're going to be more aggressive this week, But again, Harrison, Wilson, and the tight end whose name is now escaping me. Why can't I think of it? Oh, that's frustrating. But yeah, McBride. They can go up and get the ball too. So it's going to be an interesting matchup. Do you think the Vikings made a bad decision getting rid of Sam Darnold? Yes. We don't see quarterbacks developing like Jordan Love did around the league. No, I very much think they made a mistake there. Made a mistake getting rid of probably Daniel Jones too. I understand why they did it. I like JJ McCarthy a lot coming out. I've gone on record of that. I hated how he looked the first couple weeks of the season. He's not starting again. He was injured all last year and he now has another big injury this year. He's not the biggest guy in the world. So yeah, I think there's got to be a lot of concern in Minnesota for his development right now. We'll see how that goes, but his development in Minnesota is going to be a major, major storyline moving forward. But I do think they made a mistake there in not bringing back Sam Darnold. Would you consider the Packers offense dome merchants? It just seems like they play well better indoors. I don't. I mean, they're 3-0 at home this year. And I know their offense maybe hasn't put up like 30, 40 points, but I think they've been really, really great at home. I think, in general, in, colder weather and things like that, offenses are not going to be as good, but you went out and got a Micah Parsons, a really good defense for those sort of situations as well. So hopefully you can win in multiple ways. We are due for a big Wicks game. Nicholas, I will gladly take that. And thank you for the super chat, my friend. Love is the best third down quarterback in the NFL. He very much is. He's been absolutely amazing in those situations. Also completely nuclear when protected. When you give him a clean pocket, he's just beyond absurd right now. So third down situations and in clean pockets, he's basically a complete assassin right now. What do you think of a future O-line of Tom Banks, rookie, Morgan, Belton? I think that's the cap friendly and young for the future. Yeah, I mean, rookie's always tough. You don't have a first round pick. Not that they necessarily spend one on a center anyway, but I could see something like that. I will say this. I would put Tom at right tackle, first of all. I don't want to change that. I really don't want to move him from right tackle. I get the Belton thing at right tackle. I don't know. It's going to be really interesting to see how that kind of plays out, but they're definitely going to have some choices. I don't know if Belton can play left. Yeah, that's going to be a really interesting one, but I really don't want to mess with Zach Tom too much. Similar to letting Jordy go and unlocking Tay, Pack needs to let Romeo go to unlock Golden. I'm not quite there, but I think the better odds are that Romeo is probably gone next year based on the depth of the wide receiver room would be my guess. But I did a huge episode on it recently. Could easily see it going either way. Andy, don't you agree that the Packers should go vertical, not horizontal regarding passing? No, I think they should absolutely be doing both. It's not just about play calling. It's about sequencing plays. Absolutely. Do you want Calais Campbell at the trade deadline? What do you think we would need to give up for him? Yeah, I tweeted that out earlier this week is got to beat Arizona so that they're sellers at the deadline. And if they sell at the deadline, I want to go get Calais Campbell. The reason why Campbell, he's cheap. It'd be like, I don't know, 2-3 million for the remainder of the year. And you're not gonna have to give up anything. It's a late round pick is what you're giving up because he's got 1 year left on his deal. He's going to retire. He's old. He's not going to play very many snaps. It's probably a 7th round pick, right? So even if it's a 6th, you don't mind. And he's the perfect rotational guy. I think he's a great leader in the interior of that defense. I think he'd fit in perfect. I think he'd be ultra motivated to come to Green Bay, try to win a Super Bowl at the final stage of his career. And the other thing I love, we talked about this with Mike Wall, somebody that can collapse the pocket, but also 6'8" guy in the middle of that defense. You've got Micah and Gary and LVN collapsing, and now you've got a 6'8" guy that's collapsing the pocket, and he can get those big hands up too. He's the idea that you could just put him in for 15 snaps a game and utilize him how you want. He's a great run defender. He's still a good pass rusher. He's, again, got those long arms to knock down passes in a 15, like just imagine getting rid of Nasir Stackhouse, putting him on the practice squad, and now having Calais Campbell instead for a 7th round pick in $3 million or $2 to $3 million. It makes all the sense in the world. Not a ton of draft capital out, not a big monetary value, perfect fit, 15 to 20 snaps. And for a game, if like all of a sudden you were down a couple players or injured a couple players or whatever, he could absolutely play, 30, 40 snaps for a game if you absolutely needed him to. So I think it's actually a really smart and really good fit for Green Bay. Don't expect it to happen. Jordan Love is not only a top quarterback, but he's also so much fun to watch. Beast, I totally agree. Andy, what do you think about Matt LaFleur's play calling? I think it is far too criticized. I think he does a really good job. I think there's some things that Matt's still finding the rhythm of this team. And I think, getting Watson back and Jaden Reed back will help with that as well. But I think he does a really good job. And just remember, outside of one game in Cleveland where their offensive line couldn't protect to save their lives, they've put up 27 or more every single game. So they're in a good spot. They really, really are. Time to cut ties after the season with Musgrave. I think a change of scenery trade would potentially make some sense there for Luke if we don't see any sort of major improvement for the remainder of this year. Bengals are clearly the best team in the AFC, and I feel infinitely better about last week's game. You never know. Is McKinney having a good season? You don't see many splash plays or tackles. He's fine. Teams don't throw at him, which is a problem. I think he's pressing a little bit to try to make plays that aren't there. I'll also say the way that they're kind of using him, they're not using him a ton in the box. They're using him as a lot of deep safety, which makes sense. But teams aren't throwing long against Green Bay, which partially is due to Xavier McKinney being back there. So he ends up kind of just being a very expensive, I don't want to say decoy, because one of the reasons they're not throwing is because X is back there. But you end up with this very expensive, amazing player that's sitting like 30 yards back and just isn't involved in like 75% of the plays. Now that has value. Don't get me wrong, because again, teams don't want to throw back there. But like, you got to find some ways, I think, to get him a little bit more involved in the game and try to make an impact. But he's so good at playing that center field safety, and teams don't want to throw deep because he's back there, that in and of itself is a weapon. So even though you're not seeing the tackles, the plays, and he's not involved in almost anything, just know his presence is being felt back there. And it's a huge reason why teams aren't attacking down the field more. Do you think Michael will start to get holding, at least blatant ones? I hope so, Beast. I really, really do. Teams are avoiding X and Evan like the plague, only targeted 7 times in the last 2 games. Yeah, teams are not going deep against Green Bay. And again, a huge part of that is X. And Evan Williams is playing great football, by the way. He's really, really doing well. All right, friends, I do need to get out of here. Thank you so much for all the great questions, the super chats, etc. I will be back tomorrow. Warren Sharp in the morning, Mike Wall episode in the afternoon. Pre-game show will go live on Sunday morning. Then I'll do a live pregame 11 to noon right here on YouTube. And then a live post-game show I will be doing as well. So keep an eye out for those. And then, of course, the following Monday, we'll do the full deep dive post-game show as well. I know Perry Goldstein will be joining me and trying to get one more. I know Grant's not available this week, so hoping to get one more guest on there as well. See you guys all very, very soon. Enjoy your Friday. Have a safe and happy weekend. But until next time, and as always, go Pack Go.